what's up you guys, my name is SnoWolf, and welcome back to LEGO Arts. So, in the last video we did, we finally got around to finishing up Showdown Bandit Wave 2. We finally finished that one up. So for now, this episode, we're back with another project that I've been meaning to get to for a while, but had to put on hold to finish a couple of other projects up, and that is LEGO Umbrella Academy. So as you can see we have Luther, Diego, Alison, Klaus, Fives, Ben, Vanya, and as a bonus, Dolores. Alright. So this one has been in my brain for some time as sort of like on again, off again, a sort of like do it, not do it, and this was going on for a while, but it wasn't until after I watched the Hollywood parody that they did, which I'll include a link to that video in the description below. After seeing that parody, it finally gave me the inspiration to like, you know what, I want to do this. I want to see if I can build a showcase off of this. And this was also inspired by the Lego Bins custom designs of the characters, which I'll include a link to their profile in the description below. You could go check them out and see what other cool projects they've done. And after finally going back and forth of how to proceed through this, I finally got a basic idea of how to do each of the characters, and this came out as the overall final result. So, as you guys know the whole drill, we're going to take these minifigures one at a time, do reviewing them, explain my process, why we're this out, and then go from there. Also, like in most videos, the decals that I use for this video, including the faces and Five's torso, they do not belong to me. They belong to the rightful owners, which I'll include their link in the description below, so you could so you can check them out and go support them. So, without further ado, let's get the pedestal out and get the showcase on the road. So going in order by number, we're going to first start off with number 1, Luther. This was the first one that I got started and finished before everybody else, because with this one, it was hard. It was kind of hard to figure out how to make him, because if you've seen Umbrella Academy or read the comics, we know that Luther's the tallest and the strongest out of all of them. So one of the challenges was to like find a minifigure body that had like that overall structure and like take it and implement it for like Luther's designs. One of my routes that I was gonna go with was to use the same minifigure design body that I used for like Jack Skellington from Nightmare Before Christmas, and Luther from Detroit Become Human. Those were good. But then I saw like one custom of Luther by Lego Bin again. Was what they did was they took the big character from Harry Potter. I don't remember his name. But they took the design, recolored everything, added in his green trench coat, the brown pants, and his gray shirt. And this actually looks like a pretty cool design for Luther. It represents his height, and his heights, also the arms give off sort of like his big strength. So it was just like, ooh, we could try this. So I bought one of these figures, painted it green as the base. Went back and did the detailing for like the outlining, painted in the shirt, and then recolored the legs to match it all up. And in the end, this came out pretty good. I really like how this came out. As you can see with his arms, like, oh god. One of the flaws with this character is that, and I didn't realize it until I bought the figure, but his legs, they're actually short minifigure legs, and legs underneath. I did try to like give him more movable legs, but in the end that looked weird. That's weird. I didn't like how that came out. So I scrapped that one. Yeah, so I scrapped that idea and just gave him standard and just left the short legs as it was. The hands, as you can see, I painted in the fingerless gloves. This one I had to look back at the show to like see how they looked and his finger, and he does have fingerless gloves. You can kind of see on the back there's some clay added in on the back. This was sort of to make his shoulders a bit more broad, because I was pointed out that the shoulders are a little bit more broad than the original character design. So I flattened out some clay, super glued it onto the back, painted it up to blend in with the rest of the character, and this came out pretty nice. The hairpiece, you could kind of see that it was sanded down. So the hairpiece was something. It was another thing I was jumping back and forth on. I didn't know, and at first I thought about like maybe doing like a hairpiece like the Ninth Doctor and just sending off the forehead a little bit to match it up. But I didn't buy any of those hairpieces. So I decided to like, you know what? It's pretty simple. Maybe I can sculpt it out of clay. It didn't work out. In the end. And then what I did instead was I took one of my spare Superman hair pieces and proceeded to sand it, and it's all the way down to this, and to this shortness, which, looking back at it now, it actually looks pretty cool. It looks pretty cool. It's probably was a bit more complicated than I originally intended, but in the end, with the overall result, it kind of blends in pretty well. It blends in pretty well. And then I painted it up into a light brown, color. You can see the original like sort of like detailing of the original hairpiece. I tried not to sand too much of it off, because I kind of wanted to keep it there to sort of like add in that detailing. But in the end, this came out with the overall results for Luther. I think one of the only other things that I probably would have added was maybe doing his gorilla body, but I'll explain more about that later on in the showcase. Next up on our list is number 2, Diego. So when doing this character, one of the challenges that I felt was doing his torso, was painting his torso. So when first approaching the character, a lot of the photos that I saw showed him having like a blue striped shirt, but in my brain at the time, I was like, he didn't wear blue. I don't remember seeing him in blue. So I decided to go ahead and paint it black. Like I painted the whole figure black and added in the detailing. And it wasn't until I was halfway through the detailing that I was watching Umbrella again, and I saw that halfway through the season, he was wearing a blue striped shirt, and it was just like, oh, that's when he wears the shirt. But at the time, I was already too far in with detailing, so I was just like, you know what, let's just keep the figure as it is and just keep finishing it. But I kind of like it how it is, because I think the black really adds in more to Diego, like who his character is. The detailing on the back was purely spitballing. I couldn't find like a good angle to give the overall idea of the back, so that was something that hopefully I got right. If not, I apologize. Some detailing on his left arm. There wasn't really a lot for the right, so I kept it blank. He's holding a couple of these knives to represent sort of like his powers. Members and knives. You could see some detailing. I added in like a couple of detailings on the straps. This silver line is supposed to represent the knife piece. Does represent the knife he holsters up there. There is some articulation in the legs. That was something that I did for each of the characters. Each of them do have articulation in the legs. Which I really like. His hairpiece is the same that I used for Jean and Hawkeye, but like with them, I sanded off the sides of it. I was actually going to use a different hairpiece, like one that I found before that at first I thought, ooh, that'd look good. But when I look back at it again, it was just like, this is not good. It's not a good style. Let's scrap it and just go ahead with the original idea. Yeah, and it came out better. I think the face could have come out better printing-wise. So, with the eyes, I actually had to fix, because I think my printer's beginning to run out of black and white ink. So, as a result, most of the eyes and the mouths for the characters didn't come out correctly. In fact, they came out a little bit more like a gray or almost white. So it was just like, oh, this isn't good. Or gonna need to fix this. Fix this. So I tried my best to repair the eyes as best I could, and then with the different skin tones, I tried to like blend it all in together and like make it sort of like one piece together. But with the facial detailing, it's super small, so I didn't want to accidentally mess it all up and then try to repair it, because that would have been super tedious and would have pushed us just a bit longer than expected. It did. So it's something. So facial stuff is something that I'm still working on for the future. I am hoping that one of these days I'll be able to make decent minifigure faces. For now, I can just do. For now, all I can do is just do them digitally instead of hand drawing them. I'm hoping one of these days that'll change, but for now, this was sort of the final result. As you can see, like on the side of Diego's head, instead you can sort of see like this an area that's just left off. This represents sort of like the scar that he has on the right side, which that one I had to double check to make sure how that looked, so I could get it not perfect, but it still does give that representation of sort of like his big scar. So even though there were some detailing flaws put into this character, overall overall with the general design of him, it does represent Diego. So this could have turned out worse. But I am hoping for the future to make something better. Next up on our list is number 3, Alison. So as you can see, like with Diego, I blended in and I created like a new skin tones to blend in with the overall character, and it actually came out pretty nice. This came out pretty good. The detailing on her jacket, I first painted in black as the base color. I then went back with the gray acrylic marker and did all of the detailing, so that way I could have an idea of like how much I needed to squeeze in for this character, and also added in some other important detailing. I didn't do any on the back because again I couldn't find any good angles for the back of her jacket. Her heels. I had to fix these a couple of times because sometimes I either wouldn't put in there either wasn't enough like skin tone underneath, or the black came up too much. So this one, and I kept having to go through a few different repairs. Her hairpiece is not as big as it is on the show. On the show, it's a little bit bigger. But with what I was working with, I felt that this was like a good substitute. And like sort of substitute, like it still gives the overall like design of her hairpiece. I probably would have changed it to something else, but for now, this is like this does like give the overall idea that like, okay, this is who the character is. And then as you can see, she has a fabric skirt. This was sort of a last minute decision for me to build, and I was originally just gonna like paint her skirt on her skirt onto the character. But then I thought that like that's not really Lego Arts like, so I decided to go ahead and make her and cut her out a fabric skirts and super glued it onto the waist parts, and you can see there's some articulation into it, but not too much, mainly because of the skirt. You can kind of see there's another layer of fabric here. This was because the fabric underneath, it didn't fully connect, so it looked weird. So I added in like the second piece of fabric that I had for an earlier skirt. I super glued that in and then painted it all into like a peacock blue. It got blue to match up with sort of the outfit design. So this wasn't too complicated. I think one of the more complicated parts was figuring out like the length of the skirt, which has always been something, so that's nothing new. But also of like doing that detailing of her jacket, and blending in and sort of like blending in the skin tone, blending it all together to like make sure that it's all the same. That was a bit tricky, but overall, I think this was a pretty easy one to build, and I'll probably change the hairpiece in the future, but for now, this is a good representation of the character Alison. So next up on our list is number 4, Klaus. So when first approaching this character, I decided to go ahead with like all the outfits except for Diego's. All of them were based off of like some of the wallpapers that we saw of the Academy. So with this character, I don't know if he wore something like this on the show. With the pants, yes. The pink scarf, I'm not entirely certain. I'll have to like go back and rewatch it again. But the overall character design was pretty interesting to do. So for starters, the skin tone blending, I didn't do too much of it on the face because it already came out like this. So I just left it as it was, and focused on the rest of the body by making sort of like this pale tan skin tone all around, except for the legs. Well, no, the feet, obviously, I put those on. The pants, and I just put in as like regular black pants as he mostly wears on the show. You can see like this one pink stripe here. That was an accident entirely, but I just left it as it was. The hair design, it's not quite as messy as Klaus has it on the show, but the overall design of it, I feel like, is sort of like a good substitute for Klaus's character. Because you can see it's a little bit spiked up. Also, I have way too many of these hair pieces, and I need to use them for something. And I think the most difficult thing to make this character was his pink scarf. The scarf was the hardest out of this whole character. So when first doing the scarf, I keep looking at it, I'm looking at it and wondering, like, how am I gonna make this? Because I don't know if Lego does pieces like this. He says, like so one of the challenges was to figure out, like, okay, how do I make this? How do I make this? I can't use the same method that I did for Xenon. And that I did for Xenon from SAO, because hers is more smooth. This one's more feathery. So it was just like, how do I make this? Until I finally used some extra fabric from, if you guys remember my first design from my Connor Jericho infiltration from Detroit Become Human minifig. If you recall when I did that one, it was my first attempt at fabrics. So I like took this red fuzzy fabric, cut strips of it off, glued it to the front, and then glued it to the back. I later on remade that character into something much better. But I still have extra fabric from that, so it was just like, ooh, I can actually use this. So after painstakingly measuring out of how long it would need to be, cutting it out, putting it on the back of the head, putting it on the rest of the character body, super gluing it on making sure that the arms wouldn't get stuck. Although it looks like the arms did get stuck, so that unfortunately was another fail. Well, some articulation, but overall, after finally going through of making sure it was all there, I waited for the glue to dry, and then when I was done, I added in a few layers of some of that bright pink, pink to get rid of the Sharpie and to blend it up. You can see the red underneath with the head, and that was because I can't remove the head. It is forever stuck onto this, but that's not too big of a deal. It overall still represents with Klaus, in a sense of like Klaus's design, and this came out pretty good. I think the only other outfit I would have done for Klaus was to try to make sort of like his Hawaiian shirt and sleeveless green jacket along with that tattoo. With the tattoo, I probably would have done the same thing that I did for Nico from Devil May Cry 5 by doing like decal printing of his tattoo separately and then adding that onto the character. But I couldn't find like, again, good references of the tattoo, so I had to scrap that idea and so I had to scrap that idea overall. I might go back to it and do like another outfit for him, but overall, this is the overall representation of Klaus as minifigure format. Next up on our list is number 5, Fives. So with this character, it was kind of interesting to do. It was probably, I think, the second character I got done because I had everything like printed off, like the decals and everything, which again belonged to the Lego bin. All credit goes to them for the overall design. The main things that I really had to do was just paint up the whole figure. So when detailing the figure, I repainted the arms for the to match up with the blue, and then carefully like repainted the jacket so that way again it would blend in and then with the rest of the figure. Then painted up like his shorts and his legs as well. So as you can see, there is some articulation in the legs as there is in the arms, which actually really turned out pretty good. All I had to do was just like remove the legs and repaint them to match up. I actually didn't have to do like any sanding underneath the waist, which I found is probably really the best tactic to like paint on legs, because acrylic does chip off. But if you can paint it right and make a few modifications, then the paint can stay on a lot longer, and it turned out pretty good. Also with the legs, I can't remember if I did another showcase with these kinds of legs, but I do know one of the other showcases that I did was for Atreus from God of War. I don't remember if I did another showcase beforehand, but with these legs, I felt would be pretty cool to use for this particular showcase. Okay, so I bought another Harry Potter minifigure and like redesigned the whole figure to match up with Fives on the show, and this actually looks pretty cool. I especially like the articulation. The detailing of like the legs could have come out a little bit better, but overall, it's the general design for Fives. So one of the things that I will point out that yes, the eyes look weird. I'm not super proud of the eyes, but this was actually the best fix that I could have done. Unfortunately, this was one of the faces that didn't print out correctly. Like the eyes and the mouth. As you can see, the mouth's a little bit faded than it's supposed to. And the eyes, it made it look like he had gray eyes. So they did not look good. And I printed off 2 of the faces. Both of them came out incorrectly. And with one of the faces, I tried my hardest to fix, but unfortunately, it came out wrong, so I couldn't use that one. And when I tried it again, it still didn't come out correctly, but I did manage to fix it as best as possible. So I'm not super proud of how the eyes came out. But in a way, this was probably the best kind of repair that I could have done. And also, so last with his hairpiece. I wanted to use something different, but with the hairpieces that I currently have, this was about as closest to 5's overall design as possible. I used a spare Obi-Wan Kenobi from the Clone Wars set's hairpiece. I wanted to use something different, but when you look at 5's hairstyle in the show, this does give off like the best representation as possible. I'll use something different in the future, but for now, this is like a good substitute for 5's overall character. So next up on our list is number 6, Ben. And so with this character, like with 5's, was kind of the easiest one to do because he wore the same outfits throughout the whole season. So when first doing this, I didn't really dismantle this minifigure so much, especially with the legs. I can't remove the legs because they are permanently stuck on, and if I try to remove them, I might wind up breaking them, as that has happened in the past, so I wanted to avoid that. I painted the whole thing black. I also added in like his sculpted hood, like on the back. I sculpted that out. You could see detailing of where the hood would be. I probably could have used like one of those minifigure hood pieces, but I only have one, and that has already been given to one of my outfits for the 13th Doctor. Plus, I've reused that so many times, and I need to stop using it. Anyways, with the rest of the character, I did the same thing with Alison. Like first detailing of the jackets, detailed the jacket with the gray marker. I then went back and added in like the silver for the zippers, and then painted on the skin tone through the head, the hands, and a little bit on the torso, so that way it can all blend in pretty well. You can see like a few spots that I didn't really fill in, and that was mainly because I didn't want to mess up the eyes and the mouth, because this was one of the few minifigure heads that didn't get messed up, that actually came out correct like it was supposed to. So I didn't want to ruin it and kept it as it was. So that was an accomplishment. And like his hairpiece, I decided to go ahead with like one of these classic minifigure hairs, because I had a few of these lying around. And with Ben on the show, his hairstyle's not exactly like this, but it's close enough that I think this would be like a good hairpiece to use if this was ever an official set. So overall, I could have done a couple of changes, like maybe got a little bit more creative, but this was a pretty simple build to do, and with the end result, I think this came out pretty nicely. Next up on our list is number 7, Vanya. So with this character, I originally was going to use like regular Lego legs and have 5's be the shortest, but then I saw like sort of a height comparison with all the characters, and it turns out Vanya's a little bit shorter than 5's. They're around the same height, but 5's is slightly taller. So I decided to go ahead with just these regular minifigure short legs. So that way, like when doing comparison, they're kind of around the same height, but you can see 5's is slightly taller because of the waist piece. So that was something I decided to go ahead with in the end. Her face was one of the faces that was slightly messed up, but the way how her eyes came out, you could see that they're still roughly intact. And also because of Vanya's powers, it kind of blends in a little bit well, sort of like that jumping back and forth between of like her eyes normal or turning into like a whitish silver kind of color. So I decided to go ahead and keep it with that. with that overall design. You can see that again. I tried blending in the face pretty well. I tried blending in the face as best I could, but I didn't want to mess with the face, so I didn't fully finish it. The detailing of her torso. This was actually a regular red minifigure torso that I had. And I had like one of the few spare torsos that I have of those blank figures. I decided to go ahead and just keep it as it is, for her outfit, and just do detailing of like her shirt underneath her sweater, and then like some detailing of the hands, I did try to incorporate that detailing around the arms. It didn't fully come out correct. It's like the paint still kind of chips off, but not a lot of it. Chips off. Like you can still see a bit of it's chipped off, but overall, this still stays on pretty nicely. The legs I did have to repaint a few times, because my current dark gray paint, I might need to refill it because it's more like a watercolor now because I filled it up with some water to try to keep the paint and to try to like keep that paint going. Same thing with the gray, but the gray, it still has some more like solid paint in it, and it's the dark gray on the other hand. I need to paint on like a few layers to keep it as one solid color. So that is an unfortunate scene with that. I also did some detailing. I don't even know why I detailed the sides, but you can see I tried to incorporate the detailing on the sides all the way around the back. This was probably a waste of time that I could have just done the back and the front and keep the sides like blank. But I decided to paint it around it to like match it all up. For the future, I'll just leave the sides blank as always. And with her hairpiece, like with Fives, it's not the ideal hairpiece that I wanted to use. My original hairpiece, the original hairpiece I wanted to use was like the same one that I used for Black Siren, but I can't remember if that's the same one that I used beforehand or if I had used something different. But what I do know is that I don't have any more of those hairpieces to spare. So for now, this is like a temporary hairpiece. I'll change it in the future, but this was sort of like a good substitute for Vanya's designs. Only other thing that I would have added was like her violin. Violin is sort of like an accessory to represent her character. But I don't have any of those pieces, but that's okay. Okay. I think the only other like sort of change that I would have made is maybe trying to do like her like silver violin outfit, and I'll explain that towards the end. Same thing with Luther's ape design. But overall, this was pretty simple to do, and with the final results, it did come out pretty nice. And last but certainly not least is Fives' wife, Dolores. Alright, so this one, I am not joking when I say that I had a minifigure that came out like this. Like, and one of the minifigure packs that I bought, one of the figures was missing an arm entirely. Like, I could not find the arm in the package or anywhere in the house. So it was just like, this actually works in my favor. This actually works out very well. So I kept it in storage, and then when it finally came around to building the showcase, I pulled it out, and painted it white, painted it into skin tone, painted it, and did all the detailing, and this came out as the result. It was hilarious and perfect at the same time. So with this arm, I can't articulate, which is actually okay because she doesn't really change, because since she's a mannequin, and again, they don't really move the arm that much anyways. The polka dots, I will say, did come out messy, and it was mainly because I didn't know how many there were. I didn't know how to space them out. So this was sort of spitballing of like how to do her outfit design. Also some detailing. Also the detailing on the front of the dress. And the dress was a bit tricky. I used two different Sharpies. One's to draw the overall like outline of the designs, and then drawing in the shirt underneath, and leaving it enough to paint on the skin tone. The face, I will say, not the best face that I have ever made, ever. This was the original intention, because since she's a mannequin, not really a whole lot to work with, so I just drew on the eyes, and then drew this red and like splotch that I call a mouth. I cannot do lips. I can't do lips to save my life. And the eyebrows, this one could have come out a little bit better, but I tried to fix it as best I could. As I could. So you guys can see why I don't hand draw or hand paint real faces. And why every face decal is digitally. But since this was a mannequin, and not really a lot of facial expression changes, I decided to go ahead and just hand paint the entire thing as best I could. Yeah. So with Dolores, this one was actually inspired by Hollywood's parody, since it was mostly a documentary about Fives and Dolores' relationship. I decided to include it in for the fun of it, and I'm hoping Dolores will make a return for the future, whether it be a reference or a cameo or something. Overall, this was pretty funny to build. I could have done better on the spots, and overall, aside from the face, I'd say this was a pretty simple build to do, and pretty funny at the same time. Well, that does it for this episode of LEGO Arts. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This was actually a pretty fun showcase to build. The only other characters that I would have added for this one is Vanya in her white violin outfit, and see maybe about doing Luther in his gorilla outfit and like his gorilla body. I didn't do those characters because I already came in so far with this showcase, and I wanted to finish it up for you guys. So I didn't really have enough time to include those last two in. Plus, I don't entirely know how I would proceed through those characters. I don't know if they'd be hand painted or decal based. I'm still working out of how I would do those. If and when I figure those out, and if you guys want to see another Umbrella Academy showcase for the future, I'll put it on a list for projects to do in the future. Speaking of Umbrella Academy, if you're wondering what about other characters like Hazel and Cha-Cha, Pogo, their dad, their mom, those characters, I'm putting them as maybe for another showcase. Like, again, if you guys want to see another Umbrella Academy showcase for the future, I'll jot down some ideas and see what I can come up with. But for now, Umbrella Academy is going to be put to a close, for now. And again, this was inspired by both Hollywood Show's Umbrella Academy parody and the Lego Bins custom Lego Umbrella Academy minifigures. So if you guys want to check out their designs as well as see like some other cool videos and projects they've done, I'll include a link to both of those in the description below. Also, I got a teaser for a couple of showcases in the future. That's if there's enough room in this video, I'll include it in this one. If not, there will be a separate video showing to you guys. But overall, I'm gonna wrap things up here. Also tomorrow, we'll be back doing KH live streams, and continue on there. And yeah, we're just gonna keep things rolling. So, anyways, if you guys would like to see more videos like this in the future, be sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications. It really helps us work on less ways, like our projects, and maybe have some fun. So, anywho, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, hit that like button, comment below what you think, share with your friends, subscribe to YouTube, follow me on Twitch, and here's a hop of the road. Woo! Thank you guys, and we'll see you next time. When the ice moon rises. See how I can make a minifigure of this character, and it'll hopefully turn out great. Speaking of new characters, this will be after I finish BATDR, but I have a new solo showcase in mind. I won't say what it is,